I'm a purist when it comes to watching bands live. I love to see how they do things, how they create something. Like even on a really famous songs, how do they get that noise, or how do they play that guitar or that drum lick? But more of it's to do now. I think with the ticket prices are so high. I mean, the stakes are so high now that okay, if you're in Taylor Swift's band or Coldplay, you have to produce that same noise every night for maybe 3 years, and people are paying $500 per ticket to hear those noises.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey, guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. Thank you so much for coming back every week to join us with fantastic and amazing stories from musicians and entertainers from around the world. And today is no different. Been working on this one for a little while, but life is pretty busy, especially when you're a drummer. We know that drummers, being that they got to keep the beat, they're always on the move. We have with us today Jim McDermott, currently with the incredible band Amitri. And as it would be, you're not even at home, are you, Jim?
No, I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm at home, like in inverted commas. I'm in Glasgow as speaking to you right now, Scott, but I don't live in Glasgow at the moment. I live in England, which in medieval times I'd be strung up. But that this is life. I'm married to a lovely English lady, and she persuaded me to come down to the dark side. So I live in England at the moment.
Well, she's got to be pretty fantastic if she made you.
Oh, she's a fantastic lady. I give you that.
Well, cool. And you're going to be heading out on the road with Amitri pretty quick here. You guys must be at least in rehearsals. I think the tour starts later this week or next week. Let's talk about that in a minute, though. But what I like to do with these conversations is to really get to know you and your history. So the first thing that I always kind of hit on with everybody, and we start at the beginning. Did you find music, or did music find you? How did that all begin?
To be honest, Scott, I'm not going to bore you with this, as because some people I tell, and it's like all of a sudden you can see their eyes glaze over, and you think, when's this guy going to finish? But I'll tell you in a kind of compact way. And basically, I was at school, high school, and useless at everything. I just didn't like school, full stop. Hated it. They always say, well, in the UK anyway, they always say school days, the best days of your life. They really weren't. The school days for me were just a way of navigating into your adolescent times. So basically, I went through school really not liking it, and discovered that I wasn't bad at drums. I was okay at drumming, and I thought, well, okay, I'll join a few bands. And my first band was called Pretty Persuasion, which is I think it's I've forgotten the name of the band now. Michael Stipe, R.E.M. Yeah, it's an R.E.M. song. So that was the very first band I was in, called Pretty Persuasion, and there's only three of us, and all at high school, loved it, and I thought, right, I really want to do this. This is the only thing that I want to do. And living in the West and being brought up in the west of Scotland, there's only two things that people wanted to do in the 70s, and that was either become a rock star or a football player or a soccer player. So I chose to be, a musician, not a rock star. I wouldn't say some drummers are rock stars. I'm not one. I'm just a drummer. Let's get that straight. So, I continued to play drums, and eventually at the age of 16, going on 17, I got a call from the BBC, which is the big, main television service in Britain, and they were making a new drama series that had two unknown actors in this local drama series about a rock band in the Pits and Falls of being a rock band, basically. It was called Tutti Frutti, and it became quite big, this series. And I was only 16, and I knew one of the producers on it, and he said, Jim, I'd really like some drums on this. Anything you can do, just come in, we'll give you some money, I can pay you for it. And I was thinking, geez, 16 getting paid to play drums, I mean, that's ridiculous, unheard of. So, yeah, I went into the BBC studios in Glasgow and started recording this TV series, which went on to, be quite culty kind of series. It was called Tutti Frutti. I had Robbie Coltrane and Emma Thompson. That was the two main actors, and it was their first big break, really, and mine as well. So I can always say that was alongside Robbie Coltrane and Emma Thompson gaining their first big break. I was part of that.
Nice.
So yeah, it was cool, Scott. Yeah, so 16, 17. I left school as soon as I could, and in Scotland you could leave school legally. You could leave school at 16, but I hung on till I was about 17 and left. And a year later, I was signed to Island Records in the UK with a band with my brother called the Kevin McDermott Orchestra. Now, that seemed like a bit of a mouthful, so we just abbreviated it to KMO. So it's Kevin McDermott Orchestra, or KMO, whatever you like. And at 18, I had this huge record deal, basically. And one of the first things they said was, right, you guys, you're going to be big in the States. They're going to love you in the States. So I thought, yes, I think they're going to love us in the States too. Take us there. So we flew over. We done a couple of promo things in New York, LA. And this time I was 18, 19, and thought, this is it. I don't need to work again the whole of my life. This is just going to be my thing forever. So we're signed to them for 3 years, I think. I mean, it culminated in a lot of amazing stuff. We toured the US with a band called the R.E.M, who were very big at the time in the States.
We had Smiley on, who's the
okay, yeah. He's a nice guy. He's like, I've only met him once. Yeah, all drummers are cool, Scott. You know that. Come on.
Oh, hell yeah.
So apart from the ones that are not cool, I'm naming no names here. So yeah, I went to the States 1989, and we ended up doing videos, and I went to Harry Houdini's house in Laurel Canyon in LA to do a video shoot when I was like really young. There's no nudity, nothing like that, you know. There's nothing to say that I was young. I didn't understand what was going on. No, I understood fully. It was fine. So yeah, then we went down to Mexico. We done a video in Mexico. It was honestly like living the rock and roll dream at 19, and I thought, this is it. I've made it. I don't need to do another thing in my life again. But then you suddenly realise, well, the record company's got other ideas. And eventually Sony, at the time, bought up a lot of record companies. And unfortunately, we weren't making enough money for Island Records, and we get dropped. So I thought, okay, the dream's not over for Jim McDermott, actually. This is what was going on inside my head. So eventually I recorded a couple of records with a band called Gun, who were a heavy rock band, still going. They got, different members now, of course, but so I recorded a top 20, UK top 20 record with them. That went really well. Then when it came time to record the next record, I recorded the second record with them as well, and that had chart success in the UK as well. So anyway, I think we're getting round to here, Scott. I can see your eyes glazing over already. I mean,
No.
you can go for a brandy or something. Go for a lie down. It's fine. I'll be here till tomorrow. It's fine. It's okay. So
keep going. This is a great story.
Well, yeah. Anyway, when I stopped playing with gun, I suddenly realised, yeah, I can actually make money as a musician and support myself. But I had incredibly understanding parents as well. They actually allowed me to do this, which I know that's not the case always for young musicians now, because so much pressure to, stand on your own 2 feet, make money, and get a serious job and get qualifications. For me, I didn't get any qualifications. I left school with nothing. I actually walked out that door with nothing other than the fact that I could maybe play drums and earn money. That's no endorsement, by the way, Scott. To all the youngsters out there, go and get your law degree first, then play drums. That's the way it works.
Is that what you've told your son?
Yes, that's what I'm telling him right now. So I eventually I was called by Jim Kerr from Simple Minds, who I'd always been a Simple Minds fan, still am, and he said, "Jim, look, can you come in and start recording a record with us? We're just starting. We're in the kind of, the very infant stage of doing this record." And I said, "Okay, yeah, sure." So I went up to this beautiful studio that they just bought in Perthshire in Scotland, and I started recording a record called Neapolis, which is a strange sounding name, but I mean, you should hear it. The drums are great in it, Scott. They're amazing. The songs are a bit iffy, but the drumming, oh, I'll give you that.
Everybody watching, go out and buy that album. I hope you'll get a little piece of like you get that 10-cent residual check in the mail.
Oh, that's great. I get 0.5% or something. That's great. I can buy myself like a candy bar or something every 2 months. It's really good.
Coffee. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. Not even that. So anyway, Scott, I'll keep it short because I know you're thinking, hang on, I shouldn't have started this with this guy. So Simple Minds. Then I went on to play with various other people. I've had such a very, very privileged and lucky career. I mean, it's in this game. It's not always about your musical ability, although that is about 70% of the whole industry. The other 30% is trust. If they can trust you, and you're going to go on a big stage or you're doing a big album, they can trust you to do it, then trust is massive in this game. And that's why the same faces keep on appearing time and time again, because the trust is there. And I mean, I'm getting older now, I'm 55, so I think it's time for some young blood to come through and be trusted as well, because, it's such a wonderful life. I mean, the only downside is, I guess in the industry just now, you don't make an awful lot of money, but the dream is still there. If you want to dream and go and play. It's amazing. It's the best feeling in the world. I have the best job in the world. That's the truth.
Well, and look, you're in an incredible band. I mean, the first time we were in a room together was Phoenix, Arizona. On the first time Amitri had toured like in the U.S. in like 25 years. I remember because it was one of the first gigs you guys did, and none of the merch arrived, and it was just right coming out of the pandemic, and everything that could go wrong. But that Phoenix,
it's such a bizarre tour, Scott, because really, up until that point, the pandemic really, it kind of destroyed an awful lot of livelihoods, and it was an awful time. I don't think anyone came out of the pandemic thinking, well, that was okay actually, and I survived. I think mentally it had an effect on a lot of people, because certainly I was living in England the first time. Now I'm living the second time in England, but I was living in a tiny, tiny village in Yorkshire. I don't know if you've ever been to Yorkshire. It's like, it's like ancient. Some of the villages are from the 13th century and things. So I was living in this tiny village, with a baby on the way. My wife was just ready to, give birth in the next 2 months. Pandemic struck, and just thinking, right, there's no music. I've not got a job. What am I going to do? There's nothing happening here. So I kind of bit the bullet and applied for a job online. And basically, the jobs on offer, dare I say it, were working in the care industry, care homes for the elderly and people with dementia and things like that. So that was the only jobs I could actually see online. And I thought, right, baby on the way, I've got no savings really. I'm going to go for this. So I marched into a care home in Yorkshire, England, and the lady who's the manager, she answered the door, and I don't know if you've ever encountered anyone from Yorkshire, Scott, but they can be a bit brash. It's like really full on. It's like in downtown Manhattan when you've got not the correct money or something. It's like they're right here. So anyway, she said to me, "What is it you do, Jim?" I said, "Well, I'm actually a professional drummer." And she kind of looked at her feet and went, "Oh, no." She says, "No, no, 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 no. We don't want drummers here." And I said, "Right, okay." I said, "Look, what can I do then? Can I do something for you? I'm free. I've got no job. And remember, this is only like 4 years ago. So she just said, "Well, can you cook? Are you any good at cooking?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not a bad cook, actually." I said, "Right, in you go, into the kitchen. There's the kitchens over there. Go and start cooking." And I thought it was a joke. But no, it wasn't a joke. I actually cooked. There's a thing they eat all over the UK called steak pie, which is basically a meat-based pie with pastry. It tastes delicious if you make it right. And potatoes and vegetables, things like that, So I cooked for 36 people on the first day, not knowing anything about a professional kitchen. So that was me. My drumming career was on pause for nearly a year and a half. And I cooked in that kitchen for about 8 months. Then they said to me, "Look, Jim, the cook and all the people that are shielding at the time are coming back into the job, but we want to keep you. Are you good at cleaning?" And I said, "Oh no, this is a downward spiral." So I said, "Yeah, I'm really good at cleaning. I'm the cleanest guy. Look at me, I've got a clean T-shirt on, my face is clean, teeth are clean. I'm the guy you want." So yeah, they took me on board. I started cleaning a care home for the next 6 to 8 months, and the thing that just kind of almost drove me to tears slightly was I had my head down at this old lady's toilet bowl, cleaning whatever was there. Like that was part of my job. So my brush was down, but the radio was on, and Justin came on the radio, and they were interviewing him about the new album Fatal Mistakes. And I actually thought, this is, how come I've got my head down this toilet and I'm listening to Justin on the radio? It's bizarre. So actually, the lady I was cleaning with, my colleague, I said, "I used to do all this guy's solo records. I used to play on them. We used to have great fun, and she'd never heard of Amitri or anything. She just kind of went, "Oh yeah, that's great, Jim. Right, just go on with the job then, okay? We'll be finished by 2:00.
Okay, I got to pause here for a second. How can anyone living there? I mean, that's like saying, you don't know Amitri, you don't know who Squeeze or The Alarm or U2 are. I mean, how can you be over there and not know that?
Scott, you'd be surprised. There's some sheltered parts of the UK that just they've sort of vaguely heard of the Beatles, and anything else outside of that is is basically like alien life form. So yeah, they do exist. I assure you, that is true. But anyway, yeah, that was it. So basically, fast forward about a year, I moved with my wife back up to Glasgow. Got a call from Justin to say, look, Jim, can you start this UK tour with us? Because, I think Ashley, the previous drummer, who's still my friend, by the way, Ashley's a great friend. Always been a minute. I've known Ashley since I was 19, so it's a long, long time. So Ashley couldn't do it for some reason, and I was asked in to start this tour. So I only thought it was going to be a UK tour, 1 month work, and then let's see what happens. But it's gathered speed, and the band of to be honest with Scott, the band are no strangers to me. They've always been friends. We've known each other. I've known Justin since I was 16, so it's been a long, long time, and a lot of bad haircuts along the way. But we've kind of known each other for that length. So basically, came out of all this. But the story before all this pandemic nonsense was my last studio job before the pandemic was working with a lady from Savannah, Georgia. She called me up out of the blue, and she lives in Scotland. And she said, Jim, I've got this track, and I'd really like you to play on it. Then she said, have you heard of a band called the Red Hot Chili Peppers? I said, yeah, I've heard of them, yeah. She said, well, listen, that's my friends. And I said, all right, okay. So that's cool. Imagine having friends like that. That's lovely. She said, but the only problem is they played on it, but there's no drums on these tracks. So could you put some drums on? And I thought, okay, definitely. So what I'm trying to say is my last session before those big curtains fell and started the pandemic for real was with Flea on bass and me on drums. So we done this track together, and it sounded incredible. And I thought, oh, what an amazing track! I'm dying for this to come out. This is going to be amazing. But then pandemic struck and life changed completely. So, and babies arrived, things like that. Your head goes somewhere else. So anyway, it was interesting. So after the pandemic, straight into the Amitri, and as I said, I thought it would last maybe a year or so. And because I'm not, I don't ever trust the music industry. I think the music industry is like I don't know, it's like a cat that doesn't like you very much. A cat that doesn't like you always comes to you. And I don't know why that is, but it's true. With me, anyway. So the music industry, I treat like that. It's like I always treat it with caution. And I think don't trust it because it owes you nothing. So eventually, I done one UK tour, turned into an American tour, which was the 2022 tour of the US, which was amazing. It really was. And we flew over. The first thing we had to do, and I thought this is a bit bad timing, but we had to do it. It was the Jimmy Kimmel show. So we arrived, went into LA. They sent the Jimmy Kimmel team, production team, sent round their own medical people to see us in the hotel and give us a COVID test. Now, if you failed that test, you weren't going on the show. So everyone had to, holding their breath, Scott, because we thought we really want to be on Jimmy Kimmel. Please, let it be a negative test, please, please. So it was, and we all passed safely. And we continued from there. So, and it's kind of it's gathered speed from there. So I've had a kind of long, varied career. I must admit, it's been very lucky and very privileged in loads of ways. So, if it all ended tomorrow, Scott, I've got no complaints. It owes me nothing. That is the truth.
Well,
and
people always have to eat, so you have that other career. You could always go somewhere and be a chef. I have so many questions. But I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about your time at that home, because for those of you who haven't seen, there was actually a news story about your job as a cook. With the impact of that, and having to do that, not ever having had another day job type of a profession, how did that impact you or change you in any way? That when you came out of the pandemic, suddenly you were back on drums.
You know what, Scott, that whole experience in the care home was quite spiritual in loads of ways because, thankfully, thankfully and sadly, we only had 2 COVID deaths in that home. And I knew that there was an awful lot of sadness going on inside the home itself because, there was things happening that you had to keep very light about because if you disappeared down an emotional, wormhole, you're not coming back. So you had to watch it from a distance because those poor people couldn't get outside at all. And the relatives had to come to the window and sort of talk to them through a hatch at the top of the window, like being in prison or something. So I really felt awful knowing that I could actually take my, protective, gear off basically and go home at the end of the night. They couldn't do that. So it kind of, immediately after 2 months being there, I realised that this is actually not so much of a job as much of a kind of calling in loads of ways. I know that seems kind of heavy, but it kind of it seemed that way at the time.
Well, and it really, I think it changed people in different ways. But when I came across that video, I had no idea that you had done that, and it takes, you're talking about those nice drummers, and not so nice drummers, and they're out there. It takes someone with a true heart to risk themselves during a pandemic to help others. And I really think we want you to watch the rest of this, everybody, but afterwards, and maybe I'll find a link to it and I'll throw it in the bottom. But it's really, I think the way that it impacted you, will be one of those lifelong things that travels with you, regardless of however long you do have this gift of being able to drum.
Totally, Scott. But I've always thought to myself that, if drumming stopped tomorrow, what would you do? Okay, because physically you can't go on forever. But that was totally thrown at me. I had to go and do something quickly. And let's be clear. I think a lot of people come up to me and gave me a pat on the back and said that was amazing what you done, by the way. But I needed money, Scott. It wasn't a question of there's a good Samaritan there, but at the same time, I needed to work with a child on the way and hardly any savings. You've got to go and work and make it work. And I was never scared of doing that. I'm still not. If it all came or something happened, God forbid, then I'd have to go and do it again. And I would do it again, no problem. I'm not scared of that. That to me is something you just do. So I'm not above anyone else that way.
Yeah, no. Now I have another burning question because the second time we were in the same room together was in Austin, just about a year ago, and I know you guys were melting. Compared to where you're from, you were melting in Austin in the sweltering June heat. But then you did a whole tour with, let's see, Bare Naked Ladies, Semisonic.
Oh yeah.
Who else was on the bill? One other band.
There's a band called Five for Fighting.
Yeah. And now, did they make you sideline as the tour chef for all the crowd?
Listen,
you do that?
If they did do that, half of them wouldn't be here. I think there's an awful lot of vegan and macrobiotic diets on that tour. So there's no way I was going to kick for those guys.
So you've known Justin a long time, and he, fabulous solo career. I mean, some of the most brilliant albums. I have them. I absolutely love his music.
The drumming's great on those records, Scott. Amazing drumming.
I know, but he didn't bring a drummer to the States when he toured them, and I saw him in Dallas. And then
I know. To be honest, Scott, it was just a budget thing, I'm sure. That's all it was.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, to be with him that long and now to be out with Amitri, is it just me, or is there such a Amitri resurgence in a fan base and new fans coming to see these shows, people bringing their kids? Because I mean, it's just about everywhere now. I mean, you guys have been out on the tour or out on the road for since the pandemic, just about. I don't think you've stopped for any great period of time.
Not at all. No. I think even the when talk of going to Australia and New Zealand first came up in conversation, I thought, well, that's not maybe going to happen or whatever. But then it did happen, and I thought, well, this is like serious. So, and you're right, it's not going away, and there's good reason for that, because talent like that and songs like Amitri have, it's like trying to hold sand in your hand. It just goes somewhere, and it continues. So, even I think probably the best live concert I've ever been to in my life was I watched AC/DC in Glasgow, 2012, I think it was. And honestly, I mean, really, the audience demographic was a bunch of 12-year-olds, really. And I just thought, right, okay, they've got it. They know how to market this. And they march onto the stage, a bunch of, 60 plus, musicians. And they rocked that place, and 12-year-olds went mad. So basically now those 12-year-olds are 20-year-olds, and they'll be having kids, and time to see AC/DC again. So this is the way it goes, and it's like bands like this and AC/DC and a few others. They're here to stay, really.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about Amitri that I find fascinating is that the choice of instruments on albums that the band has used over the years, or even what Justin used on his solo albums, if you took one of his albums from today and you fast forward 50 years, we'll have more electronics in music, we'll have more technology in music, but these are instruments played by people that sound timeless. And he writes, that is that's the life that we as humans have. And I think that is one of the things about Amitri's music, that it is truly timeless, and you can put it anywhere and be in that moment today.
Absolutely. And the only thing I will say, Scott, and I kind of, I'm a purist when it comes to watching bands live. I love to see how they do things, how they create something. Like even on a really famous songs, how do they get that noise, or how do they play that guitar or that drum lick? But more of it's to do now. I think with the ticket prices are so high. I mean, the stakes are so high now. That okay, if you're in Taylor Swift's band or Coldplay, you have to produce that same noise every night for maybe 3 years, and people are paying $500 per ticket to hear those noises. So a lot of the time, dare I say it, yes, they are on computer file, and they will be played back, like every night through a computer generated file, which, in the past I was really dead against. I hated all that. But since in the last 2 or 3 years, watching band like Simple Minds recently, of course there's stuff running in the background, but that is what the audience want. They actually want the feeling of energy. They want spine tingling noises. They want, so basically I'm kind of going along the way now where I'm 50-50 on it. If you can produce the noise yourself and it's organic, great. If you can't, have the noise anyway and do it, So
I think, but those timeless pieces that you go through history tend to be those more organic ones, which a sound that you have, that you can hear, that if you play guitar today, an acoustic guitar, maybe a Gibson today, or and 20 years ago, they're still making them out of very similar wood, and there's
totally.
And I think that's personally, I think that's one of the things that helps artists stay timeless, because you're not locked in a genre. Like you could listen to Dead or Alive, right?
Yeah.
It's 1985. Like it's it. So I just think that's one of the things about Amitri that really stands out in today's music world, where, I mean, for what it's worth, you guys aren't, you're not doing the Taylor Swift show, right?
No, totally not.
Come to see you, have heard you over these years, and you guys really recreate the music so well.
Well, thanks, Scott. But I think also I'm a great believer in, I've been at gigs where things go wrong, and that is probably the gigs you remember most. Because you seem
Dubai.
Well, there's Dubai. It didn't go badly wrong, but well, I'm just out of jail, so we can't mention that, Scott. No, no. Listen, I think when I go and see a band, something slightly goes wrong, and I think, well, that's actually showbiz. That's the way it's meant to be. It's like I think it's like the whole show is bespoke for the audience. So you're never going to see that show played exactly that same way again. And I think that's the beauty of being the band who creates sounds and every night come up with the goods, as opposed to, say a Daft Punk gig. It's like, you come on a robot suit and it's like, you're going to hear the same noises every night. But granted, I'm a huge Daft Punk fan, so I'm saying nothing against them. They are fantastic. So, but I really firmly believe that if something goes wrong, and even just a wrong note or somebody forgets a line, or that to me is more of a a thrill in loads of ways. I believe that.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, years ago, I don't know if you were ever listening to the music of Ben Folds or Ben Folds 5, but
yeah, I did, yeah.
The whole thing is, I think their first album, they left some of the bum notes in, including somebody's spoon going off in the middle of a track. And Ben has always been like, perfection's the enemy of good, and every show's different because they mix up the songs. But also, if he hits a bad key, you just keep going, and you get
absolutely.
Because we're humans, right? We're humans, and we make mistakes.
Exactly. This is the way it's meant to be. It's called showbiz. It's called rock and roll for a good reason, because it's like you're paid to create something, be creative on stage, and entertain. And if you're pressing buttons, you're kind of not. You're not really entertaining. You're kind of like, I don't know what. Well, you're not miming. Of course, they're not miming. But there's the things that go on. But I'd rather actually create than play along with a computer generated thing. But at the same time, there is room for that. Don't get me wrong. There's loads of room for that.
No, I mean, creativity comes in all shapes and sizes. I mean, it's amazing what some people are doing with things like AI to create music that we haven't heard before, or create something that even can't be played by a human, but is representative of their art. So I'm not against it. We're in a very evolutionary time, I think, in music, and film, and photography, because the technology is getting to where you can make just about anything, whether it's something that you can create physically or not. So I think it's a very fascinating time.
I mean, I think it might come back the way, Scott. Like fashion, like everything else, it has nowhere else to go, so it has to come back round again. And I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. I just think it might happen, and that's why I think, message to young musicians now: don't get caught up in the digital recording thing too much. Go and practice your instrument, because a drummer or a guitar player who plays a take start to finish is a better musician in my eyes than someone who thinks, well, it's okay, I'm going to get and play a drum loop, then we'll just loop it, then I'm going to play cymbals, overdub them. It's like, no, get and play your drums. It's exciting. This is the way it's meant to be.
Oh yeah, and you can, I mean, for a discerning ear, you can always, if you put on a song or an album, you can literally hear whether the energy is there or not, right?
Absolutely. I mean, even those Rolling Stones records. I mean, the Stones records were made that way, where you can hear. I mean, Honky Tonk Women would never sound the same, like second time or third time around. The way they caught it in the studio at that time was it. And all that energy and kind of almost like sleaziness of the groove, it was all there. It was all captured in that one moment. And I think that kind of art form is gone slightly. You know, it's almost like handwriting. I think everyone's forgotten how to handwrite.
I went from learning handwriting to right now. Theoretically, I should be a doctor because you can't read mine.
I'll have some tramadol. It's fine. Can you spell tramadol?
Unfortunately, I can. I'm not proud about it, but I do know I can that and hydrocodone. Look, you're only a year younger than I am, and the older we get, the more of those prescriptions we get too. So,
tell me about it. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, I'm in a hotel room in Glasgow, and you think, right, okay, it's about I don't know, 8:45 UK time, and you think it's about time for my bed. That's rock and roll for you now.
Look,
I'm just going to show you. I'm going to show you this, Scott, because I forgot to pack warm enough clothes to come to Glasgow, basically. So I've had to wear some Amitri sort of swag here, which is, there we go. Amitri European. Yeah. Lovely, and that's a hoodie, look. So it comes up the way like that. So you can. That's the merchandise advert over with. That's the halftime break.
Well, that'll be the new attire for hackers next year. Is, you know, if you want to be a hacker and have a hoodie, you've got your Amitri hoodie on. I'm coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. I live in Dallas, and I came down here, and my family's meeting down here for celebrations this week, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's going to be hot and warm." I ran out to breakfast this morning, and it was 44 degrees out, which is what I don't know, somewhere close to, I think, 0 Celsius or somewhere around there, just above there.
Yeah.
And I was definitely packing. So luckily, I've got a rugby shirt with me, so I totally understand.
Oh, that's good. You need that, yeah. Well, listen, just for your viewers here, I'm going to show you my view from the hotel room here, right? Which is quite impressive, actually, because you know what? You can see the whole of Glasgow lit up. I'm on the 8th floor, so it's quite good. Like, here we go, right? There's Glasgow there. Beautiful bridge over there. The whole of the city's there. And if you look over to the right here, we have the River Clyde, which is where all the famous ships were made. And directly behind that kind of purple light there is where Rangers soccer team play. So anyway, there we go, Scott. I thought you'd quite like that.
Look, one day, one of my goals is to come see you guys play in Glasgow.
That's one of my goals as well. Maybe I wish you'd come true.
Yeah, because you're stuck having to play in the band in Glasgow because you're in rehearsal.
Absolutely. I just want to go and see them. I just want to be here.
So let me ask you about the Amitri show. Couple questions. In your experience playing with the band, what is that moment during the show? Is there a song or a moment that just blows you away, that is your moment in the show? Whether it can be during a certain song because you love it, or there's something going on between you and the other guys in the band and that chemistry that kind of hits on all cylinders every night that you just really take it in and you're in that moment.
Well, it's a kind of, I mean, call me an old romantic or whatever, Scott. I love Justin's ballads. You know, I've always liked them. You know, you keep, I mean, that guy has got the infinite, you know, ability and talent to write ballads that, you know, bring grown men to tears. And he writes them, and there's a few in the set that, I mean, it's not tearful. It's mainly like just something really quite emotional. And it's, I guess one of them is Be My Downfall, which I love. A great track. Always loved it. I mean, it's got no drums on it, but I just well, I think the original has drums on it, but we don't do it with drums in the set. That's not a spoiler, by the way. That's just fact.
That's when you go for a beer.
How did you guess? So, look, you've had 3 beers before you go on stage. That's where you go to the men's room. And that leads me on to something else. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going there.
I have a story for you that I'll tell you about going to the bathroom off stage in a second. But go on.
Well, yeah, I love that track. The other track as well, I've always loved, and I remember years and years ago, I went in to fill in for Amitri's drummer because I don't know what happened. Anyway, I ended up playing Here and Now with them, about 25 years ago, and I've always loved that track. So when it comes up in the set, I've always just loved playing it because it's almost like the Rolling Stones in a way. When you hear something, it's got swagger to it. But it's got such it builds and builds and builds, and I just love that. I just love the dynamic in it. So that's kind of two moments for me.
That's fabulous. I mean, from someone who's been in the audience, to see the emotions that those songs bring out, or what's one that I know everyone. Nothing Ever Happens. Love that song.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
absolutely. And you can see what it does to the audience and that connection they have. Again, I think that one of the greatest things about Justin's lyrics is that it's today, it's yesterday, and tomorrow all wrapped into one, because we all experience those things. He writes about living.
absolutely, and I think, he done an interview recently, and recently as in the last 4 months, and he talked about Nothing Ever Happens. It's kind of dated now, the lyrics, but it's kind of not. It's actually, if you pick and choose what lyrics you want to hear, of course, there's some dated aspects, but it's actually a very current song. It's still going on. Nothing much has changed,
No, absolutely. I mean, he talks about he talks about video cameras in the car, right? Like in that thing. When that song was written, CCTV was still kind of in its infancy. Now, you can't walk on a street corner without being on a camera. So it's only proliferating further. So
yeah, absolutely, you're right. And I think okay. I mean, I live quite rurally now. So there's none of me on camera. I think we used to live in the woods for a year, which I really hated. So now we've got a shop, we've got a store. So yes, I'm happy. And you got to spend old money. No, it's actually. I think no, you're right. There's something more. It's still a very current song, and I love hearing it. I think the songs out there, especially in the States, where it was "Roll to Me," which is the sort of the biggest hit in the States. And
isn't that the one that Justin just loves the most?
Yeah, yeah, he does. Yeah. Ironically, yeah, I know. It's like, you know what it is, Scott? It's like I think it's because it's so short and it's so fast that it's actually a thing that almost is over in the heartbeat. And it's, I guess, if there's any song in the set you don't want to make a mistake in, it's that one, because it's like it's going at lightning speed, and you've got to play the part really carefully and well. So anyway, that's the biggest one for your side, stateside. But here, there's Nothing Ever Happens, Kiss This Thing Goodbye, and a few others that were kind of top 20 hits here. So I guess here you've got more scope, to pick and choose, some more songs, But anyway, I'm sure when we're back to the States again, we'll have more hits. Let's see.
Well, and let me ask you this. I mean, I don't want to get into, Justin's dealing with some, as we all age and get different health things. We all know that Justin's doing some stuff. But you're going out on this kind of holiday tour. Are you guys going to try any new songs out on the road? Is there anything new coming out by?
Oh, I can't tell you that, Scott. No, that's all here. You see.
So there you
go. No, listen, Scott. Of course.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy tickets, you're in for a treat, because we've been trying all sorts of angles and new ideas and new songs. So there's something we're going to shake this up a lot, because I think we've been sort of turning the set around slowly since 2021, and basically because the last two big tours that we've done have been support slots, you've only got like 35 minutes, so you can't really throw any new material in there. But this time around, it's our stage, so you can, hopefully a bit more scope. That's all it is. Let's see. It's going to be amazing, Scott. This is just, and I'm going to wear some really nice skimpy underwear, lovely little vest as well, and some nipple tassels. So if that sells a few more tickets, please come along.
And then I can only imagine what Andy's wearing. So what you gonna have to dress up in?
Oh, what's that?
You gonna have him in a skirt?
Andy's got a great set of legs, by the way. So maybe we can get him in a little pencil skirt. It'd be lovely. Oh, someone would kill for those legs.
If I only look, if I could make it over now, I would. I mean, I'm hoping to make it over. That the Mechanics are going back on tour, and I do photographs of those guys and the fabulous. And since everybody saw this at a Mechanics show, do you know Anto Drennan? Do you know Anto, the guitarist?
I'd heard the name, Scott. I don't really know him.
They were on tour, the last tour, and apparently I think he either had to go to the loo or something, but he went off stage to do it, and he just never came back. he went to the bus. He's like, thought the show was over, but they'd already played 26 dates, so I don't know where the set list change came in. But
listen,
you get that.
We've had a few members like that. Yeah.
Well, it's not like you're in a regulated business where you say you get a 10-minute break and you have to come back, right?
Listen, there's no HR, put it that way. Imagine having HR for rock and roll. Would just actually be, they couldn't keep up with the amount of calls,
But that, you know what, that would be a joy and a nightmare. Well, I think that's called the road manager. Actually, I think road manager's the.
Oh yeah, true. That's very true. And we have a very, very nice road manager called Derek Fudge, who I mean, with a name like that, he's got to be a road manager, surely, But he's a lovely man.
You all recently, as a matter of fact, speaking of your road crew, you just went through a loss recently. How's that impacting everyone?
To be honest, Scott, and all kind of laughing and joking aside, it really hit us very hard. With the Buddy, his name was, because we've known Buddy since I think 1988, something like that. We've all been together, and he was Justin's guitar tech for 35 years, and circumstances personally overtook him, and basically, he couldn't tour anymore. And actually, I was very, very shocked when that call came, and that was only recently. That was like, was that 5 weeks ago? I got that call to say sadly he's gone, and I actually couldn't believe it. It was a real shock, that, and it has a massive impact on us. We're still, just now rehearsing. I mean, round the corner from this building is this studio that looks like some kind of industrial warehouse, but that's where we rehearse. And that was almost like the womb for every band out of Scotland that came through, the ranks that rehearsed in there. So going into that room without Buddy in the last 4 days has been really, really strange. We felt so strange about the whole thing. But I don't think it's quite sank in yet, because I think we've all agreed, and it was actually Brian, our other guitar tech, he just came out with the best way of coping, and he just said, well, just let's pretend he's on tour with another band. And he's out there and he'll be back at some point. And I think that's how bad it's hit us, I think, it's very, very sad. But you know what, Scott, I'm a great believer in, if that's your time, that's your time. And you can muck about with many facets and areas of your life, but when it's your time to go, that's it. And sadly, that was Buddy's time, and we just couldn't do anything about it. So sad. There we are.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's thinking that he's still out there with you, I think is one of the greatest ways to honor his
Oh,
memory.
listen, but Buddy will always be with us.
Yeah.
Because the beauty is we can actually think of Buddy and laugh. And, and that is the greatest memory because he was such a gentle soul. I mean, he was a real softie. He could make anyone laugh. I've never seen people who near enough been hospitalized with laughter, because of him. So, he had that gift. And it was just these, life is cruel sometimes, and that's basically, that's it. And I can't say any more. And I think we're all feeling the impact just now. But he'll be here. At some point, he will make an appearance on that tour bus with a remark or a joke or something. Something will happen. I know it will because we all miss him so much.
Well, I think that's just keeping his legacy alive like that is just great. I mean, that's what when those of us who remain is the greatest gift that we can give to others is allowing that legacy to live on and telling those stories, which I'm sure you guys have, a million.
Absolutely, he was a complete one-off. I know we all are. We're unique, but in the rock and roll sort of circuit, you meet some really odd people, and sometimes not very pleasant people. But Buddy was, totally different. He would have it, people backstage and signing things for people, and making sure everyone was okay. That was his thing, which is amazing, amazing man.
Yeah, no, that's great. Hey, couple more things. I'm keeping you up after bedtime now. I think
I've got a lovely glass of Malbec here, which I'm just going to have a sip of. So there we are.
I love a good Malbec.
That's the drummer's tipple. So there we are.
3 of those before you get on stage makes you a better performer every night, huh?
Yeah, that's 3 bottles, definitely. Yeah.
I'm always interested in when you were coming up, when you made that decision when you were in school. Let's go back to the beginning, and you were learning how to bang on things, right? Who are some of the influences that you kind of came to and said, I like a little bit of this, I like a little of this. I'm going to take those things and bring them into my abilities to make something out of this hitting things. Who are some of those influences?
You know what, Scott? A lot of people think because I'm a rock and pop drummer that I grew up listening to rock and pop, drummers. That was all my education, but it really wasn't. I mean, my first album that I listened to all the way through was Asia, Steely Dan. And basically, I was completely blown away with that record because, not only did I have groove, but I had technique. I had the best drummer on the planet basically playing on this one record. And I remember listening to the title track, Asia, Steve Gadd, and I just thought that is absolutely incredible. I've never heard anything like that in my life. And I played that to death. Then, a lot of my other previous bandmates will testify to this, but I mean, I get heavily into Weather Report and a lot of jazz fusion bands, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Billy Cobham, these kind of drummers, because I always found it more interesting to hear how they applied, technique to songs, So basically what I'm trying to say is, how could you show off in a song but make it sound like you're not showing off? and those guys could do it. So basically, I'm still a huge, not prog rock, but mainly jazz fusion type of fan. I love it, actually. That to me is really interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like Billy Cobham or Chester Thompson, came out of Weather Report, who ended up with Zappa and then goes and plays with Genesis for all those years. I mean,
absolutely.
Stylistically, they share there's some threads between them stylistically, but they also allow a bit of a greater flexibility to get out of what you may think that you can do to get into some other things, right? I mean, straight 4/4 rock is one thing, but when you
absolutely, Scott,
play, yeah. So I think that's incredible. That's great. Those are some great examples.
But I've also just, because I used to sort of teach young kids how to play drums, and of course they all want to be, at the time it was Joey Jordison from Slipknot. They wanted to play like double bass drum hits like him. I said, look, guys, why don't you just learn how to play on one bass drum just now? Then take it on to the next bass drum or whatever you want to do. And but it turns out, ironically, that I was in a kind of folk rock band from Glasgow, a band called the Silencers. I was in the band for about 8 years, and they were this kind of Scottish phenomenon who weren't that big in Scotland, but they were huge in France. So we used to go to France every year and tour France all the time. But we had this invitation to play at a festival organised by a big French promoter, and basically told us, I'm not going to do a French accent because that's totally un-PC. He actually said to us, and look, guys, I'm a huge Silencers fan, the band I was in at the time, but also I'm a huge Slipknot fan. I'd like to put you guys together and we do a double headline. And I thought, that's the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. Because honestly, we had bloody banjos, we had 12-string guitars, and there was stuff happening, and I was thinking, hang on, this is never going to work. And we did do it. So basically, we finished our set. Then all the Slipknot crew come on, all the black drapes come out and the pentangles and, all this really weird, like goth stuff. And I remember meeting Joey Jordison backstage, and he's just such a lovely little guy. He was tiny. And we talked about jazz drumming, and, his whole background was jazz drumming. And I thought, how did you go from jazz drumming to Slipknot? And he said, oh, it's the same thing. It's just the same thing. That's all it is. I said, all right, okay. So now when I was teaching these little guys and girls how to play drums, I said, look, I've met Joey Jordison and jazz was his thing, so don't think it was all John Bonham, heavy rock, whatnot. Go and listen to all the jazz greats, then move forward from there. Then maybe listen to Keith Moon and whatever. So
it's interesting you mentioned that because we have Gary O'Toole who teaches drum as well, and we were talking about those kids who come in and before the first lesson they want to play so far beyond their abilities
I know.
that they don't want, they're not there just to learn a 4/4 time with a kick and a hi-hat. They're not there for that. They want to.
Sorry, Scott, you've gone. You've cut off.
Oh, something's happened here. Uh-oh. Are you got me there? Okay.
You're back with me. Hang on.
Yeah, I'm back. The internet went down for a second. But they don't want to learn a straight 4/4 time or even a shuffle. They want to play Los Endos, right? They want to play something by Weather Report or whatever. Something that's so out of reach. And we've reached this point where I think just because they see that, and we've had this discussion on the hang before, is that when you see a musician, let's say in their Instagram or their TikTok feed, what you don't see are the 79 other takes that they got it wrong.
Absolutely, damn right. And I think this is drummer orientated, obviously, but all these drummers that you see, like even Dream Theater, Mike Portnoy, all these guys, they all listen to all the jazz greats. They didn't grow up listening to, oh yeah, I'm just a jazz fusion guy or rock fusion. That's all I'm going to listen to. No, they listen to everything. And that's how they learned. Because you didn't get drummers like John Bonham, who grew up listening to rock drummers because there weren't any. He had to learn from big band drummers, then move on.
I mean, look, what would have happened if there was no Buddy Guy? You'd have no John Bonham.
Exactly. Yeah. absolutely. You know, Buddy Rich, even.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Buddy Rich. Yeah.
But Buddy guy would be horrified.
No, I'm sorry. I knew it was Buddy. And I'm like,
That's all right.
So
Buddy's good.
anybody's a good body.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you think about, you know, the drummers that came before and any musician that came before, to discount the learning and the energy and effort they had to put in to get to where you thought you could be them, and just be able to do that. It's very prevalent these days because everyone thinks they can be great at everything right out of the gate.
Well, see, I think that's across the board now because I used to obviously have to sit down and watch a few things like Britain's Got Talent, stuff like that. But to me, that was just people trying to jump the gun. Basically, all they're trying to do is get from A to B as fast as they can without the learning process, which is maybe you do get ripped off, maybe you do lose some money, maybe you I don't know, start from zero, then work your way up. But these TV shows are just like, no, I want to go on and I want to earn as much money as I can in 2 years, and then leave. It's terrible. And drumming's a bit like that, and musicianship. It's full of young guys and girls who just want to play double bass drums, and that's all they want to do. End of story. And think they're the best drummer on the planet. And you're really not. I mean, I've seen all the YouTube clips, and there's 10-year-olds in Japan who'll end my career eventually, but but I haven't heard any of the records yet. So there we are.
Yeah. Well, look, during the pandemic, you had Dave Grohl and what was her name, Nandy, who they kept having drum.
That's right. Yeah.
That was really kind of cute. And
it's cool, Yeah, I like all that. That's the coolness of it. But I mean, I think it's, I'm sure that the girl Nandy, she's got to get a band, and do her own thing. You can only do so much as a drummer, because you need other people to play with, really. Not unless you write songs and become famous that way. So or earn a living that way.
There's a certain number of drummers who came out behind the kit and started singing and writing songs that really made it. So you've got practice to get there for sure. So as we kind of head into the home stretch, I'm always interested because I think, and everyone who watches us knows that I'm a big believer that we should be sharing music, not just the music that you create. And go out, everybody, buy tickets to see Amitri. Buy the merch that Jim has graciously modeled for us this evening. Buy the Amitri merch. Buy the music. But with that, we have the ability to kind of go to a salad bar of music or rent music out in the world where people are finding things. And I'm always interested in like 3 artists that you may be listening to. It could be one of your favorite, or it could be something you just picked up recently that you're listening to and you're going, this is actually pretty darn good and I'm enjoying it, that you can share with everybody. Some artists.
I've got to take it back to my jazz fusion roots again, Scott, because it was only about a year and a half ago. They're big, pretty big now, this band in the States. And here they're not massive yet, but I think they're on their way. Anyways, a band called Wolfpick from New York, who are just unbelievable. I just love, it's a bit kind of like slightly often technical, a bit like Snarky Puppy in loads of ways, but I think Wolfpick are more appealing. There's something about them that I really like, because they work on what sounds they get, how it's meant to sound, and and now they're really big in the States. I think they are pretty big, and rightly so, because they're really talented. Anyway, I've been listening to a bit of that recently. What else did I have on? I mean, it's kind of weird because in the car, I always stick on classic FM. I'd listen to classical music all the time. Something that doesn't have drums, believe it or not. So it's really weird that something came on my Spotify playlist, and it was a composer called John Taverner, who's this UK composer. And he writes kind of like almost gothic, chorister music, like you'd hear in a church, But there's something really moving about it. There's something really like the energy is unbelievable. So anyway, that's another thing we listened to. Then, yeah, when I came off the drugs, I started listening to rock and roll again. No, I honestly go back and I loved Little Feat. Little Feat for me were just a band that I bought all the records when I'll name drop here, but one of my best friends is a famous guitar player called Robbie McIntosh, who was the Pretenders guitar player. Then he ended up being Paul McCartney's guitar player for years. And he would always send me mixtapes of stuff that he just liked at the time. So, in about 1989, 90, he sent me all these mixtapes of, I think it was Tower of Power at the time. Then on the B side was a C90 tape, TDK thing. And of course, I was trying to protect this and make sure it didn't tangle up. Then it was Little Feat. They made a compilation of Little Feat records. And I thought, that's the band for me. I love them. So anyway, yeah, Little Feat, I've been listening to a lot of that as well, which I absolutely love. To me, that's real. I absolutely love it. And the thing was that I've always been fascinated with, that kind of rootsy second line drumming thing they do in New Orleans down there. It's a different style of playing completely. It's that I think drummers and musicians that are from that area, they have it DNA imprinted in them that they just play that way. So, and Little Feat kind of had that. I love that kind of shuffly thing that goes on. And recently, in August, sorry, Scott, August, I done a tour with another band because that's what I am. I'm just a musical, I don't know, person for hire. And Amitri weren't working. So anyway, I toured with a Pentecostal preachers from Nashville who are really quite famous. And they're called the McCreary Sisters, who are actually Bob Dylan's backing singers. And these women are just incredible. They're just like unbelievable to work with. It's all their father was the creator of the Fairfield Four, the gospel quartet a cappella group. So they're from the church, but it's incredible to listen to. And I've worked with them. I worked with them 10 years ago, and this year they said, "Look, we've got 4 dates. Jim, you're our UK guy. Can you come on tour again?" I said, "Yeah, of course." So anyway, I was out in Denmark with them doing a couple of festivals shows, and they're just a force. But anyway, I think bring back to my point that they have that feel, and the way of describing it to me from the head sister, who is not to be messed with. Her name is Regina McCreary. She actually said to me, I can't do the southern accent, but she said to me, Jim, says you play like a rock drummer, don't you? You play, you're 4/4, and it's quite, on the beat. Says, well, yeah, that's what I kind of make money from that, that's what I do. Says, yeah, in this band though, Jim, you got to remember, it's like chicken off the bone. It's like chicken off the bone. Keep it greasy.
Nice.
And that's always stuck with me.
I love
so
it.
I've always had that going through my head. And so she always said to me, Jim, it's got to be like chicken off the bone. So that was it.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
This has been fascinating. We could probably go on for a few more hours. And one day we'll get a chance to do it over a beer together. Jim, I appreciate you making time to do this. I think this has been a great hang and a great conversation. And I wish you all the best on this tour. People, go out. If you're still with us now after an hour, and you're going to give me a little grace on my buddy Guy comments, so you stuck with us through the end without blowing me up on the internet. Go out and see Amitri on this tour, support them. you're going to get to see Jim in his lingerie playing on stage, and Andy.
Absolutely, nipple tassels in place. Yeah.
And maybe there'll be some pyrotechnics, you never know. But Jim, this has been fabulous. I really appreciate you making some time to hang with us. I know you got rehearsals, but all the best on the tour.
Thank you, Scott. It's an absolute pleasure, and thank you to everyone for, if you managed to wake yourself up now, you've just missed the best. The best 5 minutes of your life. Put it that way.
Thanks everybody for hanging us. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Al.
Scott, take care. Bye-bye.